What's really inside the historic U.S. Iran peace agreement that everyone is talking about, but almost nobody has actually seen? Hormuz, sanctions, nukes. Is Trump aggressively selling a grand deal on all three fronts while Tehran refuses to clearly confirm the terms? Iran is claiming billions in frozen funds, oil export relief, and recognition of nuclear rights, as the United States stays publicly silent on the concessions. Trump promises to keep the Strait of Hormuz open, but Tehran is already hinting at new forms of control, raising the question of who actually walked away with the bigger win. The US and Iran are expected to sign a peace agreement on June 19 in Switzerland, according to reports that cite officials and media on both sides. The specific details of the deal have not yet been published in full, with only selective leaks and brief hints emerging from Washington and Tehran. A 60-day round of talks on Iran's nuclear program is expected to begin after signing, alongside US compensation measures outlined in the framework. With so much still undisclosed, speculation is rife over what else the US-Iran peace agreement might include beyond nukes, Hormuz access, and financial relief. US may halt oil sanctions under proposed agreement. Deal could include a $300 billion reconstruction package. $24 billion in frozen funds may be released. Iran's deputy FM says talks will start only after frozen assets are unlocked. US officials reject claim that asset release is a precondition for talks. Reports suggest US agreed to drop Iran's missile program from negotiations. Iran's support for Hezbollah, Houthis, Hamas said to be off the agenda. If true, deal would narrow talks to nuclear and sanctions issues. Tehran also wants UN Security Council restrictions lifted or cancelled. Reopening Hormuz is expected to be a key pillar of the US-Iran understanding. Trump says Strait of Hormuz will reopen freely, without any transit tolls. Iranian media says Gulf shipping will be regulated with Oman, not fully unrestricted. Next phase of negotiations to focus heavily on Iran's nuclear program. Reports say Trump accepted uranium destruction or dilution inside Iran. Any uranium reduction would reportedly take place under UN supervision. Trump signals shift from zero enrichment demand to tightly capped enrichment. Trump says Iran will be allowed only low-level uranium enrichment under deal. US seeks strict limits to ensure Iran's program remains non-military. Trump vows Iran will never exceed agreed enrichment thresholds. White House says all 12 tons of enriched uranium must be removed or diluted. Trump proposes joint US-Iran effort to excavate and process uranium stockpile. Washington seeks near-immediate access to Iranian nuclear facilities. US official claims final deal aims to dismantle Iran's nuclear program. Tehran has not publicly endorsed Trump's proposed inspection framework. Mediator Pakistan says ceasefire deal includes Lebanon. Tehran claims Lebanon clause was a key condition for restraining retaliation. Iran demanded Israeli withdrawal from southern Lebanon. Israel rejected any obligation under the Lebanon provisions of the deal. Netanyahu told Trump Israel is not bound by Iran-US-Lebanon understandings. Israeli PM insists IDF forces will remain in current positions in Lebanon. Lebanon front could become first major test of any US-Iran accord. A senior political analyst has alleged that Israel has derailed US-Iran deal efforts at least 5 times, blocking understandings that were close to conclusion. Ahmad Abshinas claimed that Washington and Tehran came close to agreements on 3 separate occasions under President Biden, only for those efforts to be disrupted. He also argued that 2 additional breakthroughs were nearly reached under the Trump administration, but those 2 failed to materialize amid Israeli resistance. According to Abshinas, Iran now insists that a Lebanon ceasefire be formally included in any future US-Iran deal, tying the Northern Front directly to nuclear and sanctions talks. He contended that Israel has deliberately kept the Lebanese front active in order to complicate diplomacy, using ongoing clashes to narrow the room for negotiation. Abshinas further claimed that Israel continues military pressure even though Lebanon has accepted key ceasefire demands, suggesting that the objective is to maintain leverage, not end the fighting. The analyst added that Tehran is unlikely to abandon allies such as Lebanon during negotiations, meaning Iran will keep their interests on the table in any talks with Washington. In his view, any future deal may hinge on whether the US can genuinely balance between Israel and Iran, rather than allowing one partner to repeatedly veto emerging agreements. Israel told Trump it does not consider itself bound by the Lebanon-related clause included in the agreement, yet reported. Israeli officials said the Prime Minister made clear that Tel Aviv would not back down in its campaign against Hezbollah. Netanyahu also told Trump that Israel would not withdraw from its current military positions inside Lebanon. Israel said the IDF would continue striking Hezbollah targets and destroying infrastructure it considers threatening. Officials said Netanyahu received the full backing of Israel's Security Cabinet regarding the Lebanon issue. Senior Israeli officials said they expect possible pressure from Washington following the U.S Iran agreement. Officials warned the U.S. could seek Israeli withdrawals or push for limits on future military operations in Lebanon. Trump told the New York Times that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is a very difficult guy to deal with. The U.S. president also suggested Netanyahu should show greater appreciation for long-standing American support, according to the NYT. The remarks came as Israeli officials voiced deep concerns about the contents and implications of the agreement. Israeli officials noted that Israel was not directly involved in the negotiations that ultimately produced the latest deal. Amid the growing rift, Iran's foreign ministry condemned an Israeli strike on Beirut's southern suburbs. Tehran said the attack violated Lebanon's sovereignty and breached the ceasefire understanding reached in April. Iran also accused the United States of bearing responsibility for Israel's actions and continued military operations. The foreign ministry said Tehran retains the right to take all necessary self-defense measures under international law. Donald Trump has floated a new ultimatum to Iran, even as negotiations appear to have reached a critical breakthrough. The U.S. president said military strikes against Iran could resume if the current nuclear talks ultimately collapse. Trump also suggested the United States could become what he described as the guardian of the Middle East. According to Trump, such an arrangement could potentially be tied to a share of the region's revenues. The remarks suggest the White House is continuing to keep both military and political options on the table. According to the New York Times, Trump's advisors expect a fresh round of negotiations to begin on June 19th. Switzerland is expected to host the next phase of U.S. Iran talks focused on Tehran's nuclear program. Despite recent progress, significant disagreements reportedly remain over Iran's nuclear activities and future commitments. Trump has repeatedly insisted that any final agreement must permanently prevent Iran from obtaining nuclear weapons. The New York Times report suggests Washington is actively preparing for either diplomatic breakthrough or renewed confrontation.